As we speak, and it may already have happened by the time you listen to today's show, the House of Representatives is debating in advance of voting, and they may have already voted by the time you listen to this, about the second impeachment of Donald Trump. Now, you all know, if you watch the Monday show and or the Tuesday show, that I believe impeachment should not be a political calculation, but rather a responsibility, a duty that the House of Representatives has. Question one, very simple flow chart. Did the president do something worthy of impeachment? If the answer is yes, then you impeach. There are no other considerations because it is such an important responsibility placed on Congress. What is very interesting is that this will not be merely a partisan impeachment in the House. We are hearing from more and more Republicans that they are indeed going to vote to impeach. They may already have. Depends on when you listen to this. Congressman John Katko from New York was the first Republican to say publicly he will vote to impeach Donald Trump over his role in inciting a violent mob to storm the Capitol last week. He said he will join Democrats today when they vote to impeach Trump for willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States. We then heard from Liz Cheney from Wyoming, Republican Congresswoman and daughter of former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney. She will vote to impeach today. Then we heard from Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger that he will vote to impeach, saying that what Trump did essentially cannot be ignored, period. And this is starting to get very, very interesting. We also heard from Republican Congressman Fred Upton that he will vote to impeach Donald Trump. And that puts the number of Republicans that will be voting to impeach Trump at more than zero. And that's what matters. Now, ultimately, we will get the full number. I don't yet know what it is as of this moment. The vote is likely happening or minutes from taking place. But ultimately, the real questions are going to be in the Senate. And we are going to talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there's going to be a real question as to whether any Republicans would be willing to vote to convict in the Senate. And we will get to that. Now, how much praise do these Republicans deserve in the House for voting to impeach? Very little. That's the reality. The dominoes are falling, and that's good. Republicans are starting to jump ship. Many of them. Many are not, but many are. And to me, this mostly is opportunistic individuals trying to save themselves. That being said, I still say keep them coming. I still think, again, people should just vote based on what happened. What happened is Donald Trump behaved in an impeachable manner, and thus any vote to impeach is the correct vote, and that should be welcomed. But it's a lot easier to be the second person to take a stand. And second applies in a number of ways here. This is the second impeachment of Donald Trump. We have already seen some Republicans like Mitt Romney and others distance from Donald Trump. And it's always easier when your participation is going to get less and less attention. And the second person to jump on board gets less attention than the first. And the 10th gets less attention than the second. And that's the way it goes. And ultimately, many of these Republicans are realizing there's simply nothing to gain and everything to lose from continuing to side with a seditious president. I hate to be so cynical about this, but this is Republicans doing exactly what we predicted. They're just doing it like a week sooner than we expected. And what I mean by that is there was every indication for over a year, certainly for months, and you've heard me talk about it, every indication that once Trump is gone, the Republican Party, both those who supported Trump and those who supported him publicly but not privately, and those who started to distance from Trump publicly at a relatively earlier stage. This was always the plan. The plan was always, when Trump is gone, to do a sort of on steroids version of what they did with George W. Bush. Remember, George W. Bush did not campaign with John McCain in 2008. George W. Bush was unpopular. And Republicans made the calculation, it probably hurts John McCain to have George W. Bush on the campaign trail. This is like a steroids version of that, where you are going to see tons of Republicans go into pretending Trump. I barely even remember that, and I certainly wasn't with it, and going back to all of the things the Republican Party has pretended to care about for a very long time. We've got to reduce the debt and the deficit. religious freedom, lower taxes, cut business regulation, get in the way of so-called government takeovers by Democrats and something, maybe they'll call them communists and socialists, et cetera, et cetera. So this is not a surprise at all. It's simply happening a week to 2 weeks before Trump leaves office. We were more leaning in the direction that it would happen once Trump is actually gone. That's it. And they deserve no praise. They don't deserve to have their reputations rehabilitated. But to the extent that it's correct for them to vote to impeach, I'm with it. And after the break, we are going to talk about what's happening in the Senate, including multiple reports that Mitch McConnell is pleased with Donald Trump being impeached a second time. But what does that mean when Mitch McConnell says it? The devil is certainly in the details. So we'll have more after the break and also on our Instagram, which you can find at David Pakman Show. I'm really excited that one of our sponsors today is Helix Sleep. I sleep on a Helix mattress at home. I absolutely love it. And that's why I reached out to them about sponsoring the David Pakman Show. Buying a mattress in the past was always a huge guessing game for me. I didn't know what I actually needed. I didn't know what I would like. But Helix has a sleep quiz on their website. You tell them your body type, your sleeping position, your back pain issues you might have, and their tool matched me with a mattress that is perfect for me. It's cool enough at night. It's the right firmness. I generally just do way better sleeping these days because of the mattress. Helix was awarded #1 best overall mattress for the last 2 years by both GQ and Wired magazine. It is well-deserved, I can tell you firsthand. Every Helix mattress comes with a 10-year warranty. You can try the mattress risk-free for 100 nights, and they will even come pick it up at your house if you don't love it. But I know you will. All of my viewers will get up to $200 off your order, and you'll get 2 super premium pillows for free when you go to the link right underneath this video.